What's up, America? Alright, so this video is just going to be a quick, I thought it was going to be a quick touch-up on hydrogen. There has been some new developments in the industry that are really cool. I'll get into that here in a minute, but essentially this is just how hydrogen is going to help with sea level rise and climate change, all that good stuff. So let's get into it. There's 4 reasons that I really like hydrogen. Number 1, its byproduct is fresh water. Like, it's not salt water. It's fresh water, clean water. It's water that goes into the ground that you drink. You can seriously drink the water out of the tailpipe, although they don't suggest it because of air pollution. Alright, so number 2, it's double the efficiency of gasoline, which means that you're getting twice as much energy out of it, which means you can go twice as far, or you can go just as far on half as much, however you want to look at it. It's twice as good. Number 3, converting to hydrogen can help combat sea level rise. Number 4, extracting hydrogen releases oxygen into the atmosphere, which could replenish the ozone, while at the same time making all the air around us just a little easier to breathe. So, a real downside to using hydrogen fuel cells is that hydrogen is much more expensive right now, as of probably the last videos. Now it's getting really close. We'll get into that. So, according to the California Fuel Cell Partnership, it's the equivalent of paying $5.60 per gallon for gasoline. Which, look at it, that's a lot. So anyways, the new methods for extracting hydrogen using solar energy are driving down the cost. Once a national market opens up, it's going to further drive down costs as more companies start getting into it, and they're going to find new ways to make it cheaper, to give themselves the edge in the market, to draw in more business, which is going to drive down costs to consumers and create more jobs. Alright, so let's do some quick comparison here. So, running with a fuel cell, alright, this is for vehicles. Running with a fuel cell, you are more or less paying $6 a gallon. Okay, that's how I did my math. I know I just said $5.60. I rounded up, make life easier. Alright. So, you're paying roughly $6 a gallon equivalent. But you're also getting 65 miles per gallon. That's average. Some do better. Some are getting like 68, close to 70 as the technology progresses. I'm sure that number is going to go even higher. I mean, look what happened with gasoline. They were getting like 12 miles per gallon 50 years ago, and now we're getting like 50. So, if they're starting at 65, imagine with you. But yeah, so gasoline right now is about $2 a gallon here in California. And according to the average of vehicles manufactured in 2017, I just googled average mile per gallon. But it brought me up a 24.9 miles per gallon. So we do the math here. Alright, so if you have 65 miles per gallon of the fuel cell, you divide it by the 24.9, we'll just say 25. Again, rounding in the favor against hydrogen. You end up with 2.6. Which means that you're getting roughly 2.5 times the efficiency. So if you're getting 65 miles per gallon on $6 and you're getting 25 miles per gallon on $2, what's the base equivalent, whatever, and it's pretty much that the fuel cell is getting 2.6 to the gasoline's every 1, which means that you're going to be paying $5.20 per gallon to go the same distance. Alright, so if you actually calculate the price at $5.60 per gallon instead of $6 per gallon, the price difference is only 40 cents over the 65 miles instead of 80 cents. And so the actual difference is 0.61 cents per mile. We get to replenish our aquifers. We get to water the roadside foliage, which is going to help mitigate pollution by absorbing carbon and heat. Double whammy win. Let's see, it's also going to get to reduce respiratory illnesses nationwide. Imagine that. Wouldn't that be cool if there just weren't kids with asthma anymore? I mean, obviously the people whose parents smoked around them a whole bunch when they were little are going to have it, but I mean, like, the rest of them, you know? They not to have asthma because they're no longer breathing that toxic pollution crap. I know my niece would really like to not have asthma. Let's see, and as a final perk, we'd get to bring the troops home. Like, how cool is that? The troops get to come home, kids no longer have asthma, like, everything's green. I'm really, really having a hard time not making that half a cent per mile worth it, and I cover about 200 miles per day. I'm willing to do that because of the benefits that it's going to bring. So, I mean, not to mention, if we get free of oil dependence, we no longer need these endless wars in the Middle East. Everybody else, all these other politicians that say that they want to end the Middle Eastern conflicts and get us out of these endless wars, they don't have a strategy or way to do it. Because we are still completely reliant and dependent on oil. That's why we're there. You know what? Well, Sid Pan Harris, and I'll get us out of the Middle East. I'll get us out of the Middle East so hard we have no reason to ever go back. Unless they try and blow us up again, in which case we'll just nuke them back to the Stone Age. Nah, probably not. Maybe. Alright, so right now, some of you are saying, hey Sid, how is hydrogen going to help combat sea level rise? I mean, oceans are huge. That's a lot of water to displace. So, let's go through it. So back in March of 2019, Stanford was able to create hydrogen or extract hydrogen from seawater simply using a solar panel and some electrodes. That's because hydrogen is released from water at a certain voltage. According to Science Daily, in November of 2019, the same year, so 8 months later, researchers are already improving the process using a different catalyst and a more controlled voltage to prevent the accidental release of different ions like chlorine, which is bad. So now they can even pull hydrogen from wastewater. Alright, so what you're flushing down the toilet, your waste, they can now pull fuel for your vehicle from that. Alright, it gets cooler. Alright, so because it requires such a low voltage to release hydrogen, they can pull thermoelectric energy from the waste, which means the heat created from the waste itself breaking down is able to produce enough voltage to unlock the hydrogen. So if done this way, wastewater treatment plants can become hydrogen depots, which will help drive down the cost. And at that point, we're literally flushing fuel down the toilet to be processed to power our cars. And our cars are only going to emit water. Alright, so now, how does this combat sea level rise? It does it the same way in which we've depleted all our rivers and lakes and aquifers, and it's by storing it in bodies. Instead of having the water in the ground and in the rivers, it's now walking around in human bodies that are 70% water. It's in our pipes and our plumbing. it's no longer in the ground and it needs to be replenished. Now, so as hydrogen gets separated, it releases oxygen, so yay, fresh air. And then the hydrogen gets stored in tanks, at stations, or in vehicles, or wherever it may need to be. Once used, the hydrogen rejoins the oxygen and water is formed, and that's what comes out the tailpipe of hydrogen vehicles. Let's see, alright, so now that fresh water, because not salt water, fresh, clean water, like I said, it's drinkable, but it's not suggested to drink it because of the air pollutions. Alright, so that fresh water comes out of the tailpipe and then gets locked in to the continental areas. Instead of going back and filling the oceans, I mean, some of it will, but it's going to seep into the ground, it's going to water the roadside foliage, it's also going to seep into the ground and replenish the aquifers, refill our rivers, and all that good stuff where we get our fresh water from. The natural filtering process of the ground is going to clear out any contaminants that may have accumulated from the air in the process of it becoming water again. And then we'll have that for drinking, in which case it goes right back to us and gets recycled back into hydrogen when we flush it back down the pipes, which keeps more water out of the oceans. So, bam, 2 for 1. Alright, so something I neglected to mention earlier is that with hydrogen, it's really only cool in a fuel cell. If you try and combust it like you would in a traditional engine, that's bad stuff. It also produces water that way, but the ignition process releases NOx, nitrous oxide, which is associated with like acid rain and stuff like that. So it's real bad poisonous stuff. So with hydrogen, you don't want to burn it. You just want to run it through fuel cells to let it create electricity.